it was so hot inside that people were sweating, and like all the needs that we had to do to go to the bathroom were done here, right on that spot. You couldn't go out. And my mother took us, like barefoot, both of us, and one she was doing like this, and the other was doing, with her, scarf like this to get a little air, two of us. But how much did she suffer because she was in a peasant's clothes, skirt, this, the so on and so forth. I don't know, but it was, it must have been terrible. I can see the soldiers, soldiers walking with the guns because we're close to the doors, up and down, and then.
When you say the door was still open then?
In that wagon, the door was still open. And then all of a sudden, the door was closed, snap door, and we the train left. I fell asleep at night time, and I don't know, of course, how long it took us, but it took us probably overnight, and we woke up in the village of. In the Slavonska Požega, Jakšić, the village called Jakšić, and they took us out. They gave us some water. There was people we are going to be, distributed to work for them. So they took, of course, the ones that are more capable to work, women and so on, and we went to the village. And what I remember, I was there about like 3 days ago visiting the same thing, and I remember there was a crossroad. One main road is going this way, and the one was going to the right. In the middle of it there is a statue, like a Jesus statue with his head down and so on, that we don't have it here. I sort of saw that and I said, oh, there is something new to me. They wanted to separate us. They separated my sister, giving her, sort of to the one of the houses there. They also wanted to separate me from my mother, saying, look, you're gonna be here, you are next door, it's gonna be okay for you. And my mother was, going to the name of Niemčević, like family Niemčević. I was so afraid to separate the mother. I cried and cried, and I was holding my mother the back, like back of, of a skirt with both of my hands. So they finally see that they cannot separate me. They let me go with my mother.
Where did you go?
Well, we went, as I said, to the family called Niemčević. I believe they were like Serbian family, yes. And then we came in, and they tell us, because we are going to be to live not inside the house with them, but into the barn, right. The barn. So we were, sleeping on the top of the barn on the hay, and they give us a meal, of course. And the mother was starting to work, with them, and I was also doing some, some little work myself, guarding the geese at the far away. Sorry. And that was continuing for I don't know how many weeks. Yes. The thing that I remember were the men from Herzegovina, called Herzegovci. They were sort of fearless. I mean, they were, Croats brought to that village, and they had pans which are homemade, quite different than what we have now. The back, they were, you know, homemade, and the back was like a long, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't done, you know, exactly what we do now. And you know, they said, oh, you know, be, you know, careful from them, so on and so forth.
What were they doing there?
Well, they were, you know, I guess they were part of the, you know, Croatian, you know, forces and so on, and they were there.
But they were not in uniform.
Not that I remember, no.
So they would be kind of auxiliaries.
Auxiliaries, auxiliary. To the Ustashi, yes. Then came our our Slava. It's called Saint Panteleimon. It's always on the 9th of August. And as we, you know, sort of Jugović celebrate that over there, you know, there couldn't, you know, sort of there couldn't be no celebration because there was nothing, nothing. And then the people started to go back to where they come from. I mean, there was probably allowed by the Croatian government or whatever was there. And we were told, because of our family, we were told, my mother was told, Yellow, don't go back to Dubica here, because whoever they stop here, there was a jail right where the city hall is now. There was a jail, and when you come here, they can, you know, they can kill you or they can send you to the concentration camps. Whoever was sent back never came back. And I have a proof. I have a man in our village who is still alive that suffered through the terrible. Oh yes, I mean terrible. His name is Ljubić. He came with his sister Marica, who was supposed to be our daughter-in-law eventually, and also his mother, I think, called Radosova, and his sister was only about 9 years old, and his son, I mean his brother, was only about 1 year old. Unfortunately, you know, the traitors here sent the mother and the daughter and the young son to the camp of Jasenovac. They never came back. Ljubo was fortunate because he was taken by the Croats, a Croat family exactly. I don't remember the name, you know, right now, and he was saved by them. They took him to in the wagon and took him across from the river in the village called Lipovljani, which is not far from here, and he survived. His sister Marica also survived because she was taken by a family that, you know, kind of protected her. As I said, this is a pure example of what, you know, what happened to many that came before us. Fortunately for us, a man came from Gradiška. At the time was called Bosanska Gradiška, which is, you know, this way here. And he came to get his either wife and the children. And my mother, you know, heard that. She went and said, "Could I go with you?" He said, "Well, yes, you can, except that I have a list of 7 of us. If somebody asks me who they are, I cannot tell you are with me." My mother took the risk, so we left. I believe, you know, judging from the time we left, sometime in September 1942. Fortunately for us, our aunt called Sava Jugović knew a man 5 villages away from us. It's called Lužani. His name was Simeon Švraka. My mother and you know, my aunt were close, you know, because they were. She said, you know, "Yellow, if you need some help there, ask for Simeon Shraka. So we, of course, we left, came to Gradiška, came through, and we continue walking to our homes with a group of women and children only. We were going toward that village, and came in the sort of like evening. But before that, my mother agreed with the woman that she knew they're going through the villages of Jablanica, Rakovica, Sjeverovci, and so on, that she knew. One young lady was expecting. She wasn't tall, her, of course, was quite high. I couldn't walk fast, and she couldn't walk fast, so we kind of walked behind. When we came to the village of Lužani, my mother asked, where is the house of Simeon Shraka? And somebody pointed out, there. So we came in, we, of course, asked them to who we are, and they accepted us. He wasn't home, but his daughter was home. And his son, who was 2 years older than me, was guarding the cows, far away. Fortunately for us, I got sick that night. So sick that I was sick for 6 weeks. And we could not go with, go with them. We stayed there, and unfortunately for them, they started to walk, of course, without us. They were intercepted by Ustashi, who returned them, all of them, to their camps. They never came back. None of them survived. So I am one of the luckiest was that sickness that saved us from joining them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. You would never know about me, or would be gone.
So you were at the house of
Simeon Shraka.
For how long?
Well, I would say, when I was maybe 5-6 weeks, when I was feeling a little better, my mother asked me, she said, son, you will stay here. I'm going to see our houses, which are about 5 villages away. She walked through there, came back and said, the house has not been burned, it's still there, nothing was sort of, except the tall grass was grown in the yard. So, but she also told me that she was trying to see one of those people that were with us. She knocked on the door and said, hello, anybody home? Or so, nobody was there. But she did not know, or she did not expect them to be dead already. She told me about that. She said, well, nobody answered. And sometimes in fall of 1942, I believe was before 19th of December. 19th of December, it's called Saint Nicholas, our saint, right, that the people fast before that. So we finally started to go towards home, carrying the little, what we had. The mother was carrying something, I was carrying a little bit thing. And we went to I remember exactly, village of Sjeverovci. It's a high part of that, and the sun was already maybe very close to like disappeared. Night was coming, and she said, mother said, well, we are going that way. And we of course started to do this. Now in 1942, it was in the village of Rakovica. They had a forest called Popović Gaj. The Ustaši and the Germans killed about 120 men right there, you know, because they cut them there, you know, without arms and so on, but they, you know, they said, well, you know, let's sort of get rid of them. But because of our customs, that we as a children were scared by the ghost, by the graves, by the dead people, so on. I was afraid because, you know, we kind of, you know, ran away to that part of the, you know, road. There was nobody around. It was dark, pitch dark. The only thing that I can, you know, hear was, you know, some animals afraid from us, making noise. Finally, we came to our home, and the gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, I was so happy when the mother knocked on the window, because our daughter-in-law, you know, was really, you know, like returned a different way, not from Gradiška, but to Dubica. I cannot describe to you how happy I was to be home. Unfortunately, when we came in, my cousin called Bogdan, he was only about 2 years old, was sick, you know, was, you know, like laying in the bed. He was sick, and he died, I believe, next day. So he was buried, and you know, so on. And then, for me not to hear that the customs which we had there, it was to cry out loud, you know, sort of banging on the chest and cry and so on. They sent me 2 houses down in the name of, there was a lady there named Stanka Jugović. And she started to fast for her son called Milan Jugović. He was already also taken. We did not know where they were. We were expecting them to come back. But she fasted, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, 1 year, eating no meat, no eggs, no milk, no cheese, just like corn or you know, flour, you know, vegetables and so on. No meat whatsoever. And of course there was no fish which was allowed to eat, but you know, where do you get a fish back there? And the thing that I remember vividly was the first night that I went to her, you know, there was a stove, a wooden stove where you get, you know, heat from it and you also cook. She was sitting on the front, eating a small potato and an onion. But fortunately, she knew about the Serbian, you know, heritage of the people, like the Serbs, you know, heroes, Kraljević Marko, Obilić, so on, so forth. Because my mother did not know. I mean, you know, she never told me nothing. I was so amazed that these people existed, that we as a Serb have somebody, you know, who was sort of better than, you know, I guess everybody else, more or less. When we buried, you know, Bogdan, next day I went home. But she told me about this, and I wanted to see the picture or drawing of those, you know, heroes, Serbian, you know, heroes. I went through the house and all the, you know, other things looking for the pictures. I couldn't find nothing.